The morning Sheikh Hamdan's wife woke up, and everything had changed. She woke up to the same palace, the same light coming through the same windows, at the same angle it always came through at that hour. The same sounds of the same morning in the same city that had been the geography of her official life since the day the marriage began. Everything around her looked identical to every other morning she had woken up inside it. And yet something was different. Not in the room, not in anything visible or measurable, or pointing to a specific change that could be identified by looking at it. Something in the air of the morning, in the specific quality of the day, before it had properly begun. The way certain mornings have a weight that ordinary mornings do not carry at a weight that you feel before you are fully awake, before the thinking mind has assembled itself into the version that manages the day, before the official version of yourself has arrived to conduct what the official life requires. She felt it before she understood it, and then she understood it. Everything had changed in the night. And the morning was the first morning she was going to spend inside the change. What had happened the night before was the accumulation point of things that had been building for longer than one night. There are moments that look from the outside like single events, but that are actually the arrival at a threshold that many smaller events have been collectively building toward. The night before this morning was one of those. Something had been said, or something had been found, or something had been confirmed that had previously existed only at the level of feeling rather than fact. The specific form of what crossed the threshold does matter as much as the fact that it crossed it, that whatever it was moved the situation from the category of things that could still be managed into ambiguity and into the category of things that required clarity. Something had become clear in night, and the morning was the first morning of living in the clarity. She had always been a woman who woke up with intention. That quality, the specific quality of a person who does not drift into the day, but arrives in it with a certain purposefulness, had characterized her navigation of the marriage from the beginning. She had always been intentional about how she occupied the official life she had been placed into. She had not let the difficulty of it make her passive. She had not let the distance she felt from her husband make her less present in the requirements of the role. She had brought intention to every day of a marriage that gave her fewer reasons to be intentional than most marriages are supposed to give the people inside them. She woke up with intention. That had always been true. On this morning, it was different. The intention of this morning was not about how she was going to perform the official life. It was about what she was going to do, about the fact that the official life had been revealed as something other than what it had been presented to her as being. The children, if there were children from the official marriage present in that morning, were somewhere in the palace doing what children do in the mornings. The staff were in their positions doing what the staff does. The official day was assembling itself in the way the official day always assembled itself, regardless of what had happened the night before, and regardless of what the morning was going to require of the person at its center. The palace did not change because she had woken up to a changed reality. It continued. The way institutions continue through the personal realities of the people inside them, without pausing, without acknowledging, without adjusting its requirements to the specific weight of what any individual within it has had to absorb. She was inside the continuing institution. And she was also inside a morning that was the first morning of something new. She did not go immediately to him. That is the quality of her that has always been the defining one. The ability to feel something completely without converting the feeling immediately into action. The feeling was enormous. The clarity that the night had produced was not the comfortable kind, not the clarity of a decision finally made or a truth finally understood in a way that produced peace. The clarity of a picture completed in a way that made everything previously felt make complete and terrible sense. That kind of clarity demands something of a person, demands that they do something with it. But the demand does not have to be answered immediately. She understood that. She had always understood the difference between the moment of receiving and the moment of acting. She received it. She sat in the receiving, and she waited for the moment of acting to arrive when she had fully inhabited what she was holding. The staff noticed something. That is the detail that people close to the situation have described. The specific quality of the morning that was different enough from every other morning that the people whose job it was to be present and attentive to the state of the people they served recognized that something had shifted. Not in anything she said or did, in the quality of her presence. The specific difference between a person who is managing the ordinary difficulty of a difficult morning and a person who has arrived somewhere that ordinary difficulty does not describe. They noticed, and they did what the people close to the royal family do when they notice things they are not supposed to respond to directly. They continued. They served. They maintained the surface of the official morning while the person at the center of it was inside a reality that the official morning had no framework for. She ate breakfast. She drank what she normally drank. She moved through the early portion of the morning in a way that satisfied the requirements of what the morning required of her externally, while internally she was organizing herself around what the night had produced and what the morning was now the first morning of. Not denial, not performance. The specific useful discipline of a person who understands that not everything can be addressed in the first hour of the first morning, and that some things have to be lived with for a period before the response to them can be what the response needs to be. And then she was ready. Whatever portion of the morning passed between the waking and the readiness, whatever time the receiving and the sitting and the internal organizing required, when it had run its course, she was ready for the conversation, for the confrontation, for the clarity to be spoken out loud in the direct language of two people who are past the point of managing the ambiguity between them. She was ready to take everything the night had produced into the space between herself and her husband and let it be what it was. She stood up from where she had been sitting. She set down what she had been holding, and she went to find him, in the palace that looked exactly the same as it always had. On the first morning that everything inside it was different, with the specific intention of a woman who has been patient for long enough and is done with the patience and is ready, finally, completely, without any of the ambiguity that patience requires, to say what needs to be said to the person who should have said it to her a very long time ago. Subscribe to this channel and hit the bell. Every week I bring you the real story of Sheikh Hamdan, the mornings after, the moments when the patience ends, and the truth about what a woman does when she wakes up in the first morning of a changed life and decides that the change is not going to be managed in silence any longer.